All right, get ready, because today we're going deep, really deep into trillion-dollar companies.
Those huge companies that kind of run the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And,
Yeah.
they impact all of our wallets, too.
For sure.
Our mission today is to figure out how Warren Buffett invests in these companies.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at a recent article from the Motley Fool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're pretty well known in the world of finance.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
So one of the most interesting things is that Warren Buffett's company.
You mean Berkshire Hathaway?
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway, exactly. It's not actually in the trillion-dollar club itself.
Right.
But he still owns pieces of a bunch of companies that are...
So it's kind of like a millionaire profiting off the billionaires, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. So
Yeah.
to be in this, quote, trillion-dollar club,
Trillion-dollar club. Okay.
a company has to be worth at least, wait for it, $1 trillion on the stock market.
Whoa. That's like a lot of zeros.
It's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, that's like a sign that they're super influential, right?
Yeah.
Not just with money, but in, art culture too.
There's
These
probably-
companies are everywhere.
Yeah, they're not just businesses. They're like
Yeah.
woven into our lives.
It's true.
So let's talk about the giants that Buffett is betting on.
Okay.
First up, we've got Apple. It's practically synonymous with smartphones, right?
Oh, yeah.
You say Apple, you think iPhone.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is where it gets really interesting. Even though Apple is Buffett's biggest holding,
Really?
yeah, it makes up almost a quarter of Berkshire Hathaway's entire portfolio.
Wow, that's a big chunk.
It is, but he recently sold 100 million shares.
Wait, really? Why would he do that? It's like the biggest company out there, right?
Yeah, they're neck and neck with NVIDIA for
Yeah.
the title of world's largest company.
NVIDIA. Oh, wow.
I know. Their market cap is almost $3.4 trillion.
That is insane.
It's mind-boggling. But yeah, he sold off a bunch of shares.
So that's the question, right? Like, why sell when the company's doing so well?
Yeah, it's a bit of a head-scratcher.
It makes you think, even for someone like Buffett, the market's always changing.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to kind of change his strategy.
He's got to stay on top of it.
For sure.
We'll come back to this whole Apple thing later and see if it's actually the best investment,
Okay.
out of all the trillion-dollar companies.
Right.
But for now, let's move on to another big name,
Okay, who's next?
Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. Okay.
Yeah, everybody knows Amazon,
Pretty much.
but it's actually a much smaller part of Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio,
Interesting.
only 0.7%.
Okay.
But that tiny slice is still worth almost $2 billion.
$2 billion. Wow.
I know.
That's still a huge chunk of change.
It is, and here's a fun fact about Amazon.
Okay, I like fun facts.
Buffett didn't actually choose to invest in it himself.
Wait, what?
One of his portfolio managers made the call.
So he, trusts his team.
It seems like it.
That's pretty cool, even with that much money on the line.
Yeah, he's willing to let other people manage some of his investments.
That shows a lot of confidence in his team.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've got Apple, Amazon, but those are only two companies, right?
Right.
And I heard something about a secret portfolio.
Yeah, things are about to get even more interesting.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's not so much a secret as it is an indirect holding.
Okay.
Through Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett owns this asset management company called NAM.
Okay.
And through NAM, he indirectly owns pieces of two more trillion-dollar companies.
Whoa, so it's like he owns part of a company that owns part of another company.
Yeah, exactly, like those Russian nesting dolls.
Financial nesting dolls, that's a good one.
Uh-huh, yeah, and this gives him a stake in Microsoft.
Oh, Microsoft, they're huge.
Yeah, they're valued at over $3 trillion, making them number 3.
After Apple and NVIDIA.
You got it.
Wow.
And he also has a piece of Alphabet.
Alphabet, that's Google's parent company, right?
Yeah,
I
which
will
is
know.
worth over $2 trillion.
So all these huge companies are connected to Buffett in some way.
It's kind of ironic,
How so?
because Buffett has said publicly that he regrets not investing in Google directly.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Yeah, and now he owns a piece of it, just not in the way you might expect.
Through the back door, almost.
Right, exactly.
So now we've got Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet.
All trillion-dollar companies, yeah.
That's a pretty impressive lineup.
It is, but it begs the question, which one is the best investment?
The trillion-dollar question.
Literally.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
So before we went to part 2, you were talking about how everyday investors, like me, can get in on these trillion-dollar companies.
Oh, yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, you don't have to, buy tons of Apple stock or Amazon stock directly.
Right.
There are other ways to get access to these companies without needing, a ton of money.
Okay.
One of those tools is something called an ETF.
An ETF?
Yeah, it stands for Exchange Traded Fund.
Oh, ETFs. Okay, those are like bundles of stocks, right?
Exactly. Think of it like a gift basket of stocks.
Oh, yeah?
Instead of you picking out, each individual company, you just buy this basket, and it's already curated around a specific theme.
Okay, I'm following.
So, you could have a tech-focused ETF that holds Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, all in one go.
So it's like, instead of putting all my eggs in one basket with one company,
Right.
I could spread it out across the whole tech sector.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a way to diversify, maybe reduce your risk a little.
Smart.
Plus, they're usually cheaper than those actively managed mutual funds.
So let's keep more of my profits.
Potentially. Yeah.
And pretty much anyone can invest in them, right?
Yeah, regardless of your budget.
Okay, this is sounding pretty good, but how do I even choose an ETF?
Well, there are a ton out there.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
You'll want to look at what the ETF actually holds, what companies are in that basket,
Okay.
and also their expense ratio. That's like the fee they charge to manage it.
Right. You can also check out their past performance, see how they've done.
So it's like choosing a salad mix at the grocery store. I'd want to check the ingredients first.
That's a perfect analogy.
Make sure it's fresh, see if it fits, my diet.
Exactly. And just like you might talk to a nutritionist for diet advice, it's always good to talk to a financial advisor
Okay.
to get some advice on which ETFs would be good for you.
Personalized advice. Got it.
Yeah.
So, going back to Warren Buffett for a second, this whole deep dive has been really eye-opening.
In what way?
It's made me realize that his investment approach isn't just about picking the right companies.
It's more than that.
It's about understanding the market, trusting your team, being adaptable.
Exactly. He's not afraid to let go of some control like we saw with Amazon.
Yeah.
He's got direct holdings, indirect holdings. He's flexible.
And he's obviously in it for the long game, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, these companies didn't just become trillion-dollar giants overnight.
They've steadily climbed the ladder, through innovation, market dominance.
A bit of risk-taking along the way.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that big question.
The trillion-dollar question.
Yeah. If you were in Buffett's shoes, which company would you invest in?
It's a good question to think about. What are your own investment goals?
Yeah.
What's your risk tolerance?
Totally. And you know what? I think we have time to chat about that right now.
Okay, that's good.
What are your initial thoughts, Which company are you kind of leaning towards?
I'm curious to hear your take first. Any of them standing out to you?
Honestly, I'm drawn to Alphabet. All their work with AI and self-driving cars is fascinating.
Yeah.
Even with those antitrust lawsuits hanging over their heads.
Right.
Plus, Google search, YouTube, they're like so ingrained in our lives.
It's true. Their influence is huge.
They're practically utilities.
And even with the lawsuits, Alphabet has a history of adapting and overcoming.
Right.
They've been through a lot, and they've come out on top.
They've got that "don't be evil" motto, which I know it's been debated over the years.
Yeah.
But it still speaks to some kind of ambition to do good,
That's definitely something to consider. But remember, every investment has risks.
Of course.
No matter how ethical a company seems.
Right.
So what about you? Which one sparks your interest?
You made a pretty strong case for Amazon earlier.
Oh, yeah.
That massive free cash flow is hard to ignore.
Still a lot of cash.
And I got to admit, I'm kind of an Amazon addict myself.
I get it.
Shopping, entertainment, even groceries sometimes.
We're everywhere.
So maybe I should think about adding some Amazon to my portfolio.
Could be a good move.
But wouldn't that just be copying Warren Buffett?
Not at all. It's smart to learn from successful investors.
Sure.
But ultimately, where you put your money is your decision.
Right.
It's about understanding the principles behind their choices
Okay.
and applying them to your own situation.
That makes sense.
It's not about blindly following.
Yeah.
It's about being informed.
I like that.
Making your own choices.
This has been great. We've covered so much.
We have.
From the $1 trillion club to ETFs, even Buffett's secret portfolio.
It's been a journey.
And we're not done yet. In part 3, we're going beyond the stock market.
We're going to look at some alternative investment options.
Ooh, exciting. I can't wait to see what else is out there.
There's a whole world of investments to explore.
All right, let's dive into part 3. Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into Warren Buffett's world.
Trillion-dollar companies and beyond, right?
You got it. And you mentioned some alternative investments beyond the stock market.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you have in mind?
Well, We've talked about stocks, ETFs. Those are great for getting into the stock market.
Right.
But there's this whole other universe of investments out there.
Okay.
One area that's always been popular is real estate.
Real estate. Okay, now that's something I can actually, see and touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, everybody needs a place to live.
Right. Exactly. Real estate can give you a sense of security,
Okay.
stability that you don't always get with stocks.
Right.
It's a physical asset. It can appreciate over time.
Meaning it can go up in value.
Exactly. And you can even make rental income if you own properties.
So instead of owning a tiny piece of a giant company,
Yeah.
I could own, like, a whole apartment building.
Well, maybe not a whole building, but, a part of one.
Okay, yeah.
It's a different kind of ownership,
It feels more tangible, more real.
Exactly. And while Warren Buffett might not be out there buying up apartment complexes,
Right, uh-huh.
understanding how real estate investing works can really broaden your perspective as an investor.
Okay, I see your point. But real estate can seem pretty daunting,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
especially for someone who's just starting out.
It's a lot more involved than buying stocks online.
Yeah, there's so much to think about. Location, property management, market trends.
It's a whole different ballgame.
It can be overwhelming.
Absolutely. But that's where research comes in. Just like you'd research a company before investing.
Right.
You got to research properties, neighborhoods before you invest in real estate.
Do your homework, basically.
Exactly. Due diligence is key.
So even if I'm not ready to become a real estate tycoon or anything,
Sure.
just understanding the basics can be helpful.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
What other alternative investment options are out there?
Well, another area that's gotten a lot of attention lately is cryptocurrency.
Crypto. Oh, wow. That's a whole other world.
It's super volatile, unpredictable.
Yeah, it can be a wild ride from what I've heard.
It can, but it's also rapidly evolving.
Right.
There's potential for big returns.
And big risks, I imagine.
Exactly. You got to approach it with caution, do your research.
I've heard those stories. People making a fortune overnight,
Yeah.
but then losing it all just as fast.
It's a high-stakes game.
It sounds like it.
But that's the nature of a volatile market. Big swings both ways.
So whether we're talking stocks, ETFs, real estate, or even crypto,
Yeah.
the key is being informed.
Exactly. Understand the risks, manage your expectations.
Don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Exactly. That's the golden rule.
This has been awesome. We've learned so much about Warren Buffett's approach.
Even though his company isn't in the trillion-dollar club itself,
Right, but his strategy, his philosophy, it's all so valuable.
his willingness to delegate, diversify, think long-term.
It's inspiring, to see that even a legend like him is always adapting.
The financial world is constantly changing.
We got to stay curious, keep learning.
Absolutely. That's how you stay ahead of the curve.
This deep dive has given me a whole new perspective on investing.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thanks for guiding us through it.
It's been my pleasure.
Remember, everyone, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your money.
Do your research, be informed, make smart choices.
We want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, share your insights. Let's keep the conversation going.
Until next time, happy investing.